Hi everyone. So Richard again, HMO sales expert, the supported living series, and along with Max today, we're with George Ball from Nimble. And the reason why, well, we've been talking about this, and you've talked to me over the last couple of years about just how much work as an investor and developer. This is where you're coming from with this primarily. Your own funds in the game. The extent that you've had to go to actually pick through the industry to make something that you're happy to invest in yourself.
Yep.
So do you want to sort of just do an intro and then talk about, your journey of learning about what's made you comfortable to invest in this space?
Yeah, totally. So George Ball, land and acquisition director, investor, developer, SME house builder, all of the above. So we got into this space by accident about 18 months ago. We had a parcel of land that we were going in for planning for 8 self-contained one-bed flats.
Right.
And we had a valuation in place. And then I had an offer come out of the blue from someone that was considerably higher than what the bricks and mortar GDV as a resi developer, as a private scheme. And unpicked that and tried to work out how are you offering higher than everyone else? You've got the same build costs. And it was because they were a care provider that had backing from a fund.
Right.
And the care package they were offering, these VC firms were saying, right, well, we'll just buy you stock because we know that you're going to get these. It's recession-proof business. Yep. So I got into the world of supported living. Not the trying to get my head around it, and you see the MERS and the Circa. Didn't like that model. Didn't like it at all. Didn't give me comfort because that whole model for me was dependent on buying the worst house in the cheapest area. You get LHA rates, whether it's the cheapest area or the best rate, it's the same price. Carving up a 3-bed house, putting an additional bedroom downstairs, and then going, well, I've got a really good yield. That's not sustainable. And
you're talking about this. This is you with your money.
This is me with my money. So I looked at that route and said, can I make this work? Didn't like it. So really went down the specialised supported housing route, which is a minefield. Understanding care packages, understanding care, understanding providers, understanding due diligence, understanding contracts, then understanding how you're going to find that stock because they're looking for very specific types of stock.
So you've done something that lots of people come into this space at that stage and they just buy a finished property with a lease in place. But you went right back to the beginning and thought, right, who do I need to? I'm a developer. I'm going to develop to order, but I want to get into this space. So then you're trying to understand all of the components and the risks with each component and how to do due diligence on
and
that
how
chain.
to de-risk it as a developer.
Yeah.
It's all well and good buying a house just because the provider says, I need a house in this postcode.
Yeah.
And can you rip it up and do it like this? Yeah, that's great. But is there a demand? Have the council approved the demand? There's a whole process.
And you said for your own investment needs that you've actually, I think we talked a few weeks ago where you said you made hundreds of phone calls, literally cold calling hundreds. You're just back to back, just working through it.
Because this relationship, the amount of phone calls these providers are getting is ridiculous. So what's your development CV like? What have you done? And literally cold call them, and you're speaking to the main info line, and it's just like, can I speak to someone in the States? Can I speak who? And you have to unpick it.
Yeah.
And you have to unpick it. And even when you do find a provider, that's great, but they might not be working with an RSL, a registered provider.
Yeah.
So then you need to work out how that whole process works. Yeah.
And so we've now arrived at a point where you're doing a series of developments. You're in the thick of it. You're creating properties. You've got agreement for leases signed. You are in a contractual situation with people that you're going to be in business with for the next 10 years. How did you get from that initial site where you got offered a little bit over what you're expecting for a site over that 18 months, 2-year, 3-year period? What have you learned now to spot for arriving at a point where you're actually in the thick of it and you're doing it and you're putting your money
how to value add, mate. Simple as that. Okay, so we've got 6 sites now that we have agreement for lease, heads of terms agreed in the build, ranging from blocks of flats to 2-bedroom bungalows. Okay, all for specialised supported housing. But if you do a good job and they can see you're professional, this is a relationship game. They don't want to work with new people because there's so many risks attached to working with new people. Are they going to deliver the scheme? Are they going to make sure they do it to the standard that we want?
Because while you're building it, they're thinking about who's going to live in it and things like that. So it's a big risk.
Exactly. So once you do it well once, it's amazing. And then I'm getting sites saying, George, can you help me find a site here? Can you find me out to find a site here? Now, that's all well and good as well. But then you have to go through a process of, are we actually going to get this over the line? Because you're going out there finding properties, but we elaborate a little bit later on in the interview, but the process you have to get there takes about 12 months.
Yeah, amazing.
And if you're doing it cold in a new area, it might not happen.
Yeah.
So you can do all that work, and then before you know it, you're about to, you've bought something on market, and the vendor's going, George, you're going to complete.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do all these things in the background.
Yeah.
And that's why you've had to change our business model completely.
But so, as an investor now, a long-term buying, develop and hold essentially.
Yep.
So now we're talking about the mindset of actually staying in bed with these leases. So what made you choose? Because I know your valuation packs and the HMOs. I've been a lot of your properties, I've seen a lot of your kind of DD, and you're one of the most sort of, you nailed down, deeper than most people I know.
Yep.
So what made you, not as a developer but as an investor, choose supported living with these leases over, say, a commercial entity with a Tesco in, or staying in, HMOs with HMO management?
Because I'm good at what I do. So when we were doing HMOs, when we were building houses, we were doing it for the private sector. It's exactly the same premise. We did our apprenticeship. We know how to do that. We know how to find that. It's now another layer where we're adding that lease in place and all that homework behind it. There's another value add.
Yeah.
But then using my investor hat, I want to keep a lot of this stock.
Yeah.
And I now know what it's like to run
But you've
100 rooms, and it's not passive.
Yeah.
I can't. I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
So it was more of a choice that I had to say, well, we either carry on growing this business in something I don't really, as much as I love creating HMOs and that part of it, it's taken up too much
But that's
time.
the life cycle of a lot of, that's common with HMO landlords. They develop HMOs, they build a portfolio of less than 100 rooms usually, and then it's an energy and time thing where they phase out, and then they come to me and I sell them on to new buyers with that energy for that next 5-year cycle. But a lot of these developers, they move into commercial house building, they move into whatever it is, they go up into industrial or whatever. But you've made a decision to go into, as that next step, supported living. So something's given you that confidence. You had lots of options, you've got lots of skill sets, but you've gone into this space. So what is it about supported living over the long term that's made you go, yeah, do you know what, I'm going to put one?
The feel-good factor.
Yeah.
And it literally, until you deliver your first scheme and see people moving in there, it is incredible. I'm not just saying that. I don't think I'm Jesus. I don't think I'm changing the world, okay? But it is unbelievable. So I was telling you about the site that we've just secured. 4 years, 5 individuals in a shared house have been looking for a reprovision. So that means moving them to somewhere else.
Yeah.
They can't find it.
And then
It uses the skill set. I'm not saying that I've come here and saved the planet,
Yeah.
but what I am trying to say is you guys that are developers, investors, that's your skill set. You know how to find stock, you know how to add value, add square foot, and it's using that skill set and it's doing it for the better good.
And obviously, in terms of from a commercial aspect as well, you've reached a level of comfort and security with those leases and with those relationships and things like that. So because you're doing this now, this is your, we may be delivering some of your developments out to our investors, but primarily your portfolio building within this space now.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm going to continue.
Yeah.
2-3 a year. That's what we want to be doing, and just seeing where it goes.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, well that's George. So this is the supported living series, and what we're going to be doing is releasing out a lot of videos around this, bringing in lenders, bringing in providers, trying to get care providers, registered providers in as well that we can talk to, developers, investors, anybody from this space that's doing it right. I think my job is just, I'm a layman, ask the questions and then just pick through it, because if we're going to be issuing out properties with leases attached, everything that we're learning on this content with guys like George, we've got to make sure that they're on the right side of the fence.
Definitely.
So, thanks, George, and we'll speak soon.